Welcome to The Real Look. I'm Bruce Hardy.
And I'm Chase Williams.
I'm so excited to introduce this episode's Northern Lights guest, Ryan Hvizda, with Keller Williams Metropolitan in Concord, New Hampshire. Ryan is a realtor and co-founder of her team of 12 at Hvizda Realty Group. Known for her innovative approach, she's committed to guiding agents and clients alike in building real estate wealth and crafting their ideal lifestyles. Her leadership has propelled the Hvizda Realty Group to remarkable heights, earning it the distinction of being the number one small team in New Hampshire by Real Trends. In 2022, her team closed almost $54 million in volume with 144 closed units. Most notable is Ryan's commitment to her own life by design. In fact, she's able to live and work in Barbados for 6 months out of the year while running her real estate business from afar. And we're going to get into exactly how she achieves that in today's interview. Please enjoy this conversation with Ryan Hvizda. Well, g'day, Ryan. Welcome to The Real Look. Where does today's podcast find you?
It finds me in Barbados, a town called Oyston, so the south coast of Barbados.
Oh, that is awesome. And by the way, that's not where you sell real estate, correct?
This is correct. So we sell real estate in the state of New Hampshire.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I know we're going to have some great conversation around that. But first, let me ask, we all have a story. We have a life prior to real estate. Mm-hmm. So give us a little bit of your journey.
Well, real estate's the last thing I ever thought I would get into because I was very idealist. I didn't understand anything about money. I thought sales of any kind was just cringy. So I was an art teacher for 5 years. I was a founding teacher of a charter school. So I developed the art program, did that for 5 years. And then I was also, some might have called me a hippie. I decided I was going to save the world through farming. So I started a small farm without any business sense. There's this saying in farming that's like, if you want to make a fortune, if you want to make money in farming, you got to start with a fortune or something like that. I'm totally messing it up. But it was clear that farming wasn't lucrative. So my husband is also in the KW ecosystem. He's currently a MAPS coach, but he had been running an ice cream truck business for 12 years. That's actually how we met. It's like a college job for me. It was a job for him. He is a big life by design person. So he'd work 6 months in ice cream and then not work for 6 months skiing in Tahoe. So he ended up running this business. So he did that for 12 years. We ended up coming together. And he got into the real estate because there was someone that said, hey, you're doing all this stuff in ice cream. You should think about getting into real estate. You'd make a lot more money. It's a better business model. So he got into real estate. And I just remember sitting with him while he was trying to figure out the MLS, being like, I'm never going to do that. I was so judgmental towards real estate. And then over time, I ended up getting Lyme disease. I got really, really sick. I lost the use of my hands and couldn't talk. It was just a really dark place mentally, physically, and then also financially. And he went to Bolden. He came home and he's like, Ryan, they're telling me in this class, if I just do these 5 jobs, everything else we can get out of this. And at that point, I was like a zombie. And I was like, all right, I'll be your support system. So for that first year, I kind of was the admin, which is actually the worst role for me. Then I went to Bold. I went to Mega Camp and I started to see the bigger picture. And I remember Gary standing on stage talking about the new MREA model where the very top would be the purpose of business is to be able to give $1 million. And I was like, okay, I can follow that guy. I can follow his teachings because I saw it was in alignment of this save the world mentality I had been operating off of, but it gave me a structure and models and systems. And so that's kind of what really made me a high D driven person of how can I figure out how to build a business so that I can fund the things that I'm super passionate about.
My goodness. How long ago was that, Ryan?
So he got into the business 2011 and I started in around 2013 and I became an agent in 2014.
That is awesome.
So Ryan, I'm curious, you mentioned a couple times this perception that you had of real estate or even resistance to anything real estate related. Can you tell us what might have created that or what kind of caused that for you early on before you saw the other side of what could be possible? Because I don't think you're the only one, right? That may feel that way just as a consumer, for example.
It was somehow I was programmed that sales was always trying to take something from somebody. I think that probably came into some programming and family dynamics with a pretty hard salesperson in my life. But as I realized that great salespeople are just educating and solving problems, that's when I had that mindset change. And also, I also thought money was evil, but then I learned that money is just a reflection of who you are as a person. And so I think it was just programming past life experiences with people that use mismanaged money, like my dad was foreclosed and bankrupt on, and just didn't understand money. So I always saw money from this negative lens. And so then when Mike and I were in this financial bad place and we were shown this pathway, if you do X, Y, and Z and you do it consistently, you can get yourself out of this yourself. And so that's what we really were dedicated to do first. And then it was like, how can we use this to help others?
So, Ryan, what was that first year like for you? I mean, you saw Gary up there. He's given you the vision. Then you got into the reality of what was that like?
Oh, it was so challenging because we only had one car, one laptop. We were in this 1760s house that had a mold problem and the kitchen got ripped out in September and the contractor was in a junior Olympic ski jump coach and he left for the winter. So our kitchen had no wall. Winter in New Hampshire is very brutal. So for 9 months over the winter, we were waking up, blow drying our pipes to be able to take a shower. And I was just trying to figure out the back end of stuff. And at that time, our market was a buyer's market with a ton of expired. So Mike was cold calling, and then I was just trying to figure out stuff in the background. And I love a great system and I can follow a system, but I am not a system creator. So I was in the background trying to figure out that stuff until it became clear that I also should live in the sales world. And then he moved on to be a team leader and I took over our team. And but that first year was really hard. Those first couple of years were hard. Like we were in so much debt. I mean, we're living in this house, blow drying pipes. Our fridge broke. Like there was just like everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Wow. So how do you pull yourself up by the bootstraps, right? You're in that place where it's tough and it's hard. How do you keep going?
I think we plugged into KW's ecosystem full on because we just kept seeing these stories of grit and perseverance and the success that people had by following the MREA. And I think it was just at that point, like, if we don't have faith that this is going to work, we're both going to relive. Mike's father also had like a background of financial misfortune. We're going to relive this generational pattern that we actually don't have to. It was just the faith in trusting that, hey, this system and model and plan worked for all these other people. It can work for us too. And it has.
Well, yes, it has. If we fast forward 10 years, so last year looks like about 53.9 million in closed volume for 144 units. You do real estate uniquely because, as you mentioned, right, you're in Barbados right now. And how much time do you spend there?
Anywhere from 5 to 6 months.
Okay. Why do you do that?
So many questions. Yeah, that sounds amazing.
I have incredible people on my team, and I've poured into the leadership of them so much that they're great leaders. And we became a Zoom team in 2020 because of COVID. And I had broke the team and started to rebuild it in 2020. And I mean, that's a whole other story, but I didn't understand the really being committed to that CV process. And so in 2020, I hired a new coach to be like, you have to hold me accountable to rebuilding. I want to rebuild the ops team because I know the operations team is the heart and soul of the real estate team. And I don't deserve to be able to add agents to my team until that ops team is up and running. And so I need to be held accountable to that CV process. And I was hiring during COVID, so I had 331 applicants for my EA role. And that was super overwhelming. And I personally had done 50 deals myself that year with no leverage. And so I was like, I needed this coach to hold me accountable to not shortchange that process. So following the CV process, and then the other kind of magic thing that I think has made our culture of our team so strong with the leadership is that I invest in MAPS coaches for my lead ops person and our director of sales, because I saw that I was missing leadership and able to bring these people to their full potential in that role. So I was like, a coach will help them because the coaches help me evolve in the ways that I need to evolve. And so those relationships with their coaches have made our ops team and then the sales team grow in ways that would be impossible if I were trying to do it myself.
So Ryan, tell us about kind of the vision of pursuing spending 5 to 6 months in Barbados initially, right? You're sharing some of the ways that you got there and what was important about that. When did that become something that you were going to build a team to allow for?
I was a workaholic that didn't think it was possible. And so for years, we would just go on like a week's place where we weren't on vacation, but we were practicing working remote. And so that was kind of like the step of like, all right, we're going to go down to Barbados for a week in March and we're going to work. And so do that and learn, okay, where you start to learn where the gaps are or who you need in your world in order to be in a foreign country and work your business. And then that first winter of COVID, Mike was like, let's go for 6 weeks. And I didn't think it was possible, but then we ended up staying for 3 months. And then the next year is like, well, can we do this for 5 months? And then it was like, yeah, we can, because we had practiced and I had practiced what it looked like to do it in these smaller periods of time before committing to a bigger chunk of time. And then in the summers, we'll like take off in our van. We'll get an Airbnb for the middle of the week so I can do my Zooms and my meetings, but then we'll be wherever in the country.
What were some of the lessons you learned in those practice sessions that allow you to do this for extended periods of time?
Well, a lot was leverage. So much of the work is a lot of administrative work. So figuring all of that, who the person is, it's not how. I think for so long I thought how. But then I read that book, Who Not How, and it changed my world. I'm like, I keep asking how questions, I have to ask who questions. So just changing the line of questioning I was asking and then getting the right who that could then bring that part of the business to the next level. Started with showing agents, started with a listing manager, and now we have a full admin team. And as long as I keep pouring into the agents, they don't care where I am. I show up to script practice. I show up to team meeting. I'm super available on the Slack channels when they need help. It's not like I'm just pieced out. So I'm very much a resource and committed to help growing the team, but I don't need to be there to transact a real estate deal.
Wow. I guarantee there's a lot of listeners like thinking in their mind how they can pursue something like what you're describing. What were some of the bumps that you hit along the way, right? As you pursued this practice and career visioning and finding the right who, that all makes great sense. What were some of the legitimate challenges that you had to work through or push through that you experienced?
I think when it comes to hiring, it's really challenging to not get attached to the person, but really stay true to the position. And then learning, does that person have the traits and the behaviors to excel in that position? That is a really hard thing, especially as a very quick, impulsive person. Like I'll see a person or interview a person and be like, oh, that person will be great, but not if you don't bring them through the whole process and really understand the patterns of their life so far and get those references, you're only getting this little snapshot of who they are. So I've definitely made poor hires. And then in the beginning, my first rendition of the team, we just had one admin and just put everything on this person with no coaching. She had no coaching. She had no support. And she was a yes person, but she didn't have the skills and she was just shoving everything into a drawer. We stayed in that relationship way too long. And that's why I was like, when that relationship ended, I was like, if I'm going to do this the right way, I really have to make sure that when I bring the admin people in, they're being trained by somebody that's an admin. They're being coached by somebody that's an admin, because I'm not. And I was convinced that I was for a little bit because I did it in the beginning. The other challenge is just like this ego thing. I think when you're a great agent and very productive, it's really hard to believe somebody else can do it as good as you. And realizing that taking the time to train the person might be a micro setback, but it's actually going to be, it's like jumping on diving board or something. It's going to propel you forward. So I think I was challenged in that, like didn't want to take the time to train. And now, because I've been burned, I understand. I had to learn through failure in order to understand why that process is so important.
Wow, Ryan, I have to say, having been doing this for 30 years and being around Gary for as long as I have, I see this is the biggest challenge for most of us, right? Is learning how to leverage and how to succeed through others.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds to me like you've been on this fast track to learn this, to actually do it, right? Because a lot of us will continue to make the same mistakes over and over. How have you been able to really dig deep and master the career visioning process?
I've taken career visioning a couple times, 3 times maybe, but I remember the first time that Adam Hergenrother said that you have to do a KPA 40 times before you start to get fluent. I remember hearing that being like, oh my gosh, that's so many times. But then I was like, okay, I have to practice this. So anytime I was around anybody in my life, in my sphere that said they were challenged about where they were going in a career direction, I said, hey, can I bring you through this process? And so I just started practicing the process on people in a safe environment where it wasn't going to lead to hiring them or not. So I think that really gave me an edge when I actually started to do it in real life. I practiced it so I felt more confident in it.
That's awesome. Now a brief word from our sponsors. Stick around. With Keller's successful career opportunities in real estate, also known as K-Score, we now live in a world where education is affordable, sometimes cost-free, accessible, and students don't have to worry about financial constraints or the confinement of a physical classroom. K-Score is the first of its kind as a national, fully digital real estate career training program. Keller Williams teamed up with Kaplan Real Estate Education to offer state-approved pre-licensing curriculum for aspiring real estate agents and continued real estate education credits for existing agents. In addition, K-Score provides the first ever of its kind career preparation coaching program, KW Prep, fully included for all K-Score scholarship recipients. Find out what K-Score offerings are available in your state by visiting kwnwr.com/K-Score and jumpstart your real estate career today.
So you guys have built this incredible team, right? You're gone 5 or 6 months of the year in paradise, in essence. When you think about what's next on the horizon for the evolution of your business, what are the things that you're working on now?
Recruiting. So we're working on launching an Exit Your Business seminar, our golden handoff. We were just in Bold in the fall, and there were a couple agents in our office that said, hey, do you guys have an opportunity for retiring agents? We're looking to partner with people. And we're like, wait, oh yeah. So we're working on that, getting out and teaching more. Like I'll be up in New Hampshire in February. So we're working on getting me into a couple different market centers in person. We're really just going to be launching a lot of teaching in the next year to start attracting at a higher level because we want to grow the agent team to at least 15 agents in the next 2 years. And we're super selective. We even bring our agents through the full CV process. We're not just going to grow big to grow big. Like our culture is really important and we want to make sure we're getting the right fit for agents.
Now, Ryan, with you being gone, how do you generate leads for your people to go work?
So 73% of our business comes from past clients, SOI, agent referrals. Everybody on our team is involved in the community in some way. So I'd say that's where a good chunk is. And then we've been doing Google pay-per-click and a lot of Facebook marketing with our brand. But I'd say a good chunk of our stuff is referrals and people that know us.
I had a feeling you were going to say that because I want to let our listeners know. You were featured in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent Playbook, right, for a play. Mm-hmm. And there's a one-pager here on digital database newsletters. So yeah. I'd love to dig a little deeper on that. What do you do with that?
Agent referrals are a big part of our business. So we have an agent newsletter, and then we have what we call our core buyer, seller, investor database. And so I leveraged a third-party viral marketing to do this because I was like, I need to be in front of our database. Doesn't matter where I am. Like I need to be in front of them. I need to be interviewing agents. I need to leverage video. So twice a month for our core database, so our buyers and sellers, there's a video that goes out in the newsletter. And then we also, like my admin team will add in things to that newsletter. So whenever we're teaching a class, a featured listing and home value or buy with us button. So that goes out twice a month. And then there's like a lead generation email that goes out like about home value or whatever, basically to get somebody to click. And then on the back end of that, we get a quick report of who clicked our newsletter, and our admin will look at that list and then tag in our database, tag whoever is assigned to whatever agent they're assigned to follow up, being like, hey, this person clicked on this. So we're following up with the people that are actually engaging with our newsletter. And then with our agent newsletter, we actually send out 4 videos a month, 2 from me and 2 from Mike, like the coaching perspective. And that's really just to add value to the agent community, one from a recruiting sense. I've had a lot of people come in now after over 2 years of doing these videos. They'll be like, I'm interested in joining your team because I watch your videos. So I'm like, it's working. That, and then anybody we meet for agent referrals also goes on that because we're just adding value. We'll get anywhere from like 50 to 60 referrals a year and consistently close 20 of them from our outbound agent community. And then this year we gave out 17 referrals. So agent referrals is a good chunk of our units.
When you think of the amount of content that must be required for this cadence of newsletters, right? Both for your sphere of influence on the buyer seller side and the agent database, how do you go about, gathering, structuring, and planning out that amount of content?
The one thing that is really great is a consistent set time every 2 weeks to record videos. That I think is key too, is like same time, same place, very quick. And they're really 2 to 3 minute videos at most. And I go to a couple different places. One is like, what's going on with our agents and what can they help speak about? So we're doing a series of like, get to know Katie, get to know Brenda, and they tell us 3 interesting things about them. So right there, that's 6 videos because there's 6 people, 6 agents on the team. And then some of our agents have specialties, like Brenda's really into senior real estate planning. So I'll interview her. So it's like, what are people interested in? And then can we interview some of our vendors or past clients that have businesses? When you start going, there's actually too much for 2 videos a month for the database. And then on the business side, it's usually when we're looking at the agent referrals, it's like, what is a kind of a hot topic that's going on this week or right this month in our own business that we solve that we can offer out, or a mindset thing. So when the lawsuits were first starting and people were really getting all upset, like our team was really proactive in our buyers pay us a fee, and we practiced all the scripts. And so like, all right, my video this month is going to be about, hey, this isn't going to change the game. It's just going to make you more professional, So really just like what's happening in the market and how can we speak to it?
Would you say it's important that you're on the video on a consistent basis? Is that something you're going to be able to leverage out at some point?
Maybe over time, leverage it out more. I just think one of the things that it does for our team is it's actually, they're leveraging me to put that out there because not everybody on our team wants to go on video. Like it actually took me a good amount of time to get comfortable in it myself. So whenever an agent is asked to go on a video, they take it so seriously. And it's like, I realize like me doing this consistently for them, it only takes me a half hour every 2 weeks to do this. But for them, like it helps them because it keeps bringing them business. So maybe eventually if there's somebody on the team that like really thrives in front of video, but in the meantime, it's not a heavy lift as long as you're comfortable being on video.
You've been doing this for a couple of years now, right? This digital newsletter. What would you say are some of the keys, the hooks that make it work for you?
Be authentic. Like there's been a couple weeks or maybe just twice where they always provide a script. So I'm working with Viral. They always provide a script and hot topics. And only twice have I done that because I just was underprepared. Every single time I do that, the video is terrible. And so I just show up as myself and authentically speak to whatever it is. And I think people know it's not going to be a canned video. I talked about mold because I'm affected by mold. And I'm like authentically like, hey, I have a mold problem. We've had a ton of rain in New Hampshire. You probably have a mold problem. You don't even know about it. And so I talk from that point of view. I'm never just going on reading a script. So I think just be yourself, whatever that is. And I think that works.
Yeah, that's great advice. I mean, those people the idea of the sphere of influence is they already actually know who you are. So to try to be someone different is going to be foreign versus the authenticity you share, right?
Right, exactly. And that's always been key to how I wanted to participate in the business because of my aversion to sales was like, I truly just want to help people and be myself, which I think has lended to like having a great referral business because people trust that they get what they see with me. I'm not an actor.
Yeah. So Ryan, I don't know exactly what's happening in the real estate business in New Hampshire, but I know that nationally we've seen a big change in the industry, right? What's happening with real estate sales? Some would call it a shift, right? How are you guys approaching that from a business perspective and staying focused on what's important as things change around you?
I think one of the things that we take really seriously is our dialogue practice every morning. So we do that Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 9. And that's where we're able to really fine tune what's happening on a weekly level. And so we're still in a really low inventory situation and still having multiple offers, which is just bizarre because I know a lot of other places aren't. So I think we're just continuing to practice like how to help buyers get through being competitive in the market, and then also really how to get sellers to take advantage of being on the market during this time. So it's just, I know we're a little bit behind the times with the rest of the country, but inventory is so low and we have a high buyer demand.
What sort of discipline do you have to bring, and what does your day look like? You're in Barbados. You're not having to use the hairdryer to heat up the pipes to take a shower.
I know.
What do you have to do discipline-wise to make sure that you're doing what you need to do while you're living down there? What does it look like?
Really, the biggest place of discipline is the consistency in the script practice. I check in with our director of ops every morning, and then I have one-on-ones with her once a week, with Chris, our director of sales, once a week, and then we have a group we call the directors meeting once a week, and then also the team meeting. I would say those are kind of like the set, consistent, the times don't change, things that are the architecture of the week. But my work week is really heavy on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. I'm either outreaching, trying to do stuff like this, get on podcasts, be guest speakers on things, doing whatever I can virtually. I'm also president of a local board in Concord, so I run those meetings and I'm doing a ton within the community, but virtually. We set strategy calls with agents. We aim to do a minimum of 2 a week. So I'll do a strategy call with an experienced agent to kind of do a little 30-minute coaching session to see, is that somebody that would make sense within our business? And then the other kind of blocks would be working on the business. So we're really working on this golden handoff program, as well as the teaching, the classes that we're going to be teaching.
This has been awesome, Ryan, because you have a totally different mindset to where a lot of people think, right? What's possible? Knowing what you know today, if you were to go back and talk to your younger self, what advice would you give?
Oh, you're worth it. Like, you deserve everything in your imagination. I was a tortured young person. So I would just be like, let it go. You don't need to carry the weight of the world on your back.
Thank you again. This has been really an incredible opportunity for us to share with our listeners. And I just want to say to any of our listeners, if you have any referrals for what areas of New Hampshire, is it the whole state that you cover, or?
For most of the state, I'd say like central, southern, eastern, western, up into the Lakes region. If it's not in our wheelhouse, we will connect you with the best agent, because the northern part of the state is a little bit far for us, but we have referral partners up there.
Okay, wonderful. We'll have Ryan's contact information for the Hvizda Group Real Estate in New Hampshire. So if you've got any referrals, look no further than them. And again, Ryan, boy, I hope the weather's good down there. It's cold here where we are. So I'm excited for you.
But other than that, it's beautiful.
Fabulous. Well, and I assume we'll get to see you in Vegas in February for family reunion.
I'm coming. So I'll see
Absolutely.
You.
Well, thank you so much for taking time today. We really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Hang tight. We'll be right back. The KW Maps coaching vision is for our clients to achieve their goals and fulfill their dreams.
My name is Natalie Vordiaho, and I am from an amazing hot Atlanta in Georgia. Maps has changed my life totally. I was an agent that went full time and I only had 7 units and I signed up for MAPS and I quickly went to 36. And not only did it change the way I lead generate and ran my business, it really truly changed my mindset. Having an accountability partner for you that helps you to get to the next level and get through the ceiling of breakthrough is everything. I've been in MAPS now for going in 5 years, and I will continue to stay in MAPS because it's the only thing that's going to continue to push me to the next level.
Push to your next level. KW MAPS coaching is tailored to your needs. Whether your focus is on your role, expansion, organization, mindset, or anything else, our expert coaches are here to guide you on the journey toward your goal. Connect today by giving us a call at 512-439-8684 or visit getmapsnow.com to learn more.
All right, Chase, I guess we're all moving to Barbados.
That's what we are.
Oh, wow. How cool was that conversation?
So cool, Bruce. I mean, gosh, such a high percentage of people that wouldn't even be able to envision that, right? And imagine that that's possible, what Ryan and her team have done and selling, 54 million and almost 150 transactions while being in Barbados, which is a long way from New Hampshire, 6 months a year.
I mean, She talked about getting in the van and then just stopping at an Airbnb midweek. I mean, holy smokes.
Talk about life by design. She mentioned that briefly in just the way of thinking. And it was fun to hear kind of some of the challenges that she faced in getting there. And one of the big ones, obviously, was getting the right people in place and the right who, right? Who and not how. She talked about the book that has the same title and ultimately using a proven system like career visioning for doing that well, right? Not just hoping and wishing and crossing our fingers that we can find the right people, but what's the model that I need to follow, the system I need to use in order to find the right people, ask the right questions, match their skills to the role, and honor the importance of that. And then one of the things she also mentioned, Bruce, that I thought was very enlightening, and I want people to make sure they hear, is she understood that she wasn't necessarily the best person to train them in their roles and or coach and hold them accountable in their specific roles, depending on what they were doing. And we see agents do this a lot of times, right, Bruce? They're really terrible at the paperwork and admin, so they hire somebody and then they think they're the expert in training them. Well, the reason you're hiring someone in part is because you're not very good at it. So what are your other resources that can support you in that? And she talked about, getting coaches for them specific to their roles. And I thought that was just so insightful and mature from a leadership perspective to understand the value of that.
Absolutely. I took that away as well. This idea of investing in your people. And she's making a solid investment in those key staff members on her team. You're going to get better results. And to think that the trade-off for her is that she gets to live in paradise 6 months a year. Right. And so that makes that effort worthwhile. I realize too, I'm a slug, man. I mean, the fact that she's gotten there in 10 years to this place really speaks volumes. And the other thing I heard, right, was it was really her husband going to Bold first that sort of got them getting her into real estate, and the fact that they're still going to Bold. Here we are 10 years later.
Yeah, and that was a theme too, Bruce. She talked about the number of times she's been to career visioning and going through the KPA with people in her sphere of influence that she wasn't even considering hiring for practice on doing that well, right? So she was getting practice in a safe environment that was likely adding value to someone else, but she was on this journey of mastery, kind of like taking Bold multiple times, right? Like there's this process of mastery that's not a one-time event. What I thought was really cool is, she mentioned Mike, her husband, coming home and saying, hey, Bold is teaching me that I just need to do these 5 things, not these 500 things, right? And then she described the same thing in how she's involved in communicating with the sphere of influence, right? The 2 videos a month, and then the sending out the newsletter to agents for referrals as well. And she talked about the importance of, a handful of things, the cadence that she has with her team and her leadership, the key meetings that she's part of each and every week, and the dialogue practice that she's part of each and every day. It wasn't 150 things that she needed to be part of in order to do something really well. It was the key things. I think we often overlook that, right? We think that doing more is more. And rather than doing less, more, doing the few things that matter more rather than all the things. And that was, again, really insightful from a leadership perspective.
Well, one of the other things too, with regards to that I took away was the fact that she's able to now use technology in a way to make her more efficient with her time, right? And here she is doing the few things, as you said, and yet being able to touch her sphere of influence in such a way that it's 73.3% of her business.
Yep.
Right. So when we talk about technology, and I think this is a mindset piece where people think, oh, you got to use technology for technology's sake. And no, it's you're using technology to go do the business. Yeah. So how can you use the technology in a way that will generate more business for you? And I just want to say to our listeners, we're actually going to post a copy of this page, which is her one pager around the digital database newsletter that she sends out. Again, there's no reason why all of us couldn't be doing this.
Well, yeah, Bruce. And the other thing that I thought was really important for people to hear, and we've heard this from top producers over and over again, is this idea of authenticity. And the context, though, was she actually has a lot of guardrails and systems around how this newsletter and these videos get done. Record at the same time, same number, the content's kind of already built out, and yet that doesn't take away from the human element, the relationship piece, the authenticity that gets to come through when that content is delivered. I think sometimes we see entrepreneurs and real estate agents resist great systems because they feel like it's going to be robotic. The end product is going to be robotic to the consumer. And yet with the right level of authenticity, just being yourself, you get the great connection that you want that's authentic, and you get the system that allows you to do it consistently and actually produce a result rather than this, fly-by-night, organic, creative thing that often we're seeking, And so she was matching those things up, marrying those two things up, authenticity and a system very, very well. And you can see why it's producing such a great result from anywhere in the world.
Absolutely. Well, consistency beats creativity every day of the week. I did love her advice to herself, right? Which is get the weight of the world off your shoulders. You deserve it. That's great advice. Next week's Northern Lights guest is Molly D'Amatos, Dean of K-Score and KW Prep, serving real estate students across the United States. We'll see you next week on The Real Look. This podcast is produced by Marissa Frost. Visit KWNWR.com to access the show notes from today's episode. Head over to Apple, Google, or Spotify, or really any major streaming platform to subscribe, and don't forget to leave us a review. Thanks again for listening to The Real Look.